All right, guys, how are you doing? So, I wanted to ask you guys today, what's stopping you from living your best life? What's stopping you from taking action, from being the best? Did you know that there's three parts to practical psychology? The first part is literally what stops us from moving forward, what stops us from taking action, what stops us from being the best version of ourselves, what stops you from being the best version of yourself. The second part is what controls and determines the quality of our lives. Even if we're out there moving forward and making progress, what's determining the quality of our life? I'll give you a secret. It's mindset, right? Because what you think and what you believe determines your whole reality. How you grow up determines how you live, right? And then if you change the aspects of how you grew up, then you change the aspects of how you live. You can live your best life, or you can live a life that skates by. Which life do you choose to live? The third part of that is, why do we do what we do? Okay, why do you do the things that you do? Why does your neighbor do those things that he or she does? Why does your mom or your dad or your brother or your sister or your boyfriend or your girlfriend or your teacher or your leader or your church, why do people do the things that they do? Why don't we all do the same things? So fear is one of the biggest parts of that, right? Fear is a part of being human. Fear is what prevents us from moving forward. Every single person has fear in one form or fashion or another. Now, I find myself not being afraid of a lot, but then I realize that we still have things that come up like anxiety or worry or whatever it might be tomorrow. Your fear for survival. You need to survive, all right? It's in our lives every day in its own way, right? Now, where does it show up in your life, right? And how is it preventing you or limiting you from living your best life? Now, what stops us from moving forward? Okay, obviously it's fear, but is it fear of failure? I'll tell you, there's two main fears that we all have, right? Fear of not being loved and fear of not being worthy enough, right? Those are the two biggest fears that stop us from moving forward, right? Where is that stopping you in your life? Or if it's different, can you identify it, right? Now, the second thing is what controls and determines our quality of life. Right? So the meanings that we associate to things determines our quality of life, which is shaped by the way that we grow up and our worldview. So everyone grows up in a different environment. Everyone grows up with different parents. Everyone grows up in a different way, right? Now, we might all agree on a couple different higher things, but we all have different elements that make us who we are. Whether your mom yelled at you or loved you, whether you had people who respected you or treated you like dirt, whether you had someone around in your life or didn't have someone around in your life. Think about it for a second. What has made you uniquely you? All right. So one thing is, we place meanings onto things, and those meanings come from our environment. They come from our beliefs that we had growing up, but we place meanings onto things. So one of the best ways to decipher this is God. Sometimes people ask, well, why does God, why do bad things happen to good people and good things happen to bad people? Or why did, God cause that child to get ran over in the street? Right? Well, one person might say, well, because, God was punishing the parents for karma, or God was punishing this person for this thing, or, God was punishing. Another person might say, well, it's all in God's plan. It's all in his glory, right? Two different meanings, two different contexts, same situation. We all give our own interpretation or our own meanings. Now, when someone does something, let's say that someone's fighting in the street, and you can say, oh, well, that idiot, right? Or you can say, oh, that person's having a bad day. The meanings that we place onto things determine our quality of life. If something happens to us, we go, oh, life is just beating me down, or life's teaching me lessons. Anytime something happens to me, I always choose to find the blessing in disguise. I don't know if you guys know it, but I got into a car wreck a while back. People were like, oh, that's so horrible. Are you okay? You doing okay? I'm like, yeah, it just is what it is. It's just life. Life happens, right? I don't put meanings onto things unless I know that they're going to drive me or motivate me forward. It doesn't help me to sit there and go, oh, woe is me. No, I empower myself each and every day, and I grow and I grow and I grow. Now, I'm on my own path, and you're on your own path, and we're all on our own paths, right? So if you aren't happy where you're at in your life, what can you start changing today with your meanings, your associations, or the way that you empower yourself to start living your best life? How can you start taking responsibility and changing the different aspects, the way that you think and the way that you interpret things, so that way life starts manifesting for you? Now, I know a lot of people will say, oh, mindset, oh yeah, woo-woo, I changed my mindset, but the car is still going to run me over, or I changed my mindset, but life still demands a certain. Well, it's because it's the way that you're thinking about things. If I stack a block of Legos or Jenga up in a certain way and I think, man, I'm going to make this foundation strong and I'm going to make it stand 3 foot tall, and then nobody's going to be able to knock it over. And I stack it and I structure it in such a way that people come over and they go, when they try to knock it over and they can't, right? Or if I stack it up and I say, we'll just see where it goes, and I place things willy-nilly, someone comes over and says, and they push it over and it just falls. It's all about the mindset. It's all about how you're building your life. Are you choosing the people in your life that you need to be around? Are you choosing the words or the thoughts or the mindsets that empower you? Are you working the job that you want to work? Or are you skating by just trying to make money? Are you living your most empowered life? And the answer to that probably is not, because there's always room for growth. So how can you start making minute changes in your life that start building you, growing you, making you, empowering you more, right? These are all things to think of. Meaning leads us to patterns of emotions, all right? So what that means is that we have a coping mechanism for our emotions, whether they're good or whether they're bad. What makes you mad? What offends you? What makes you happy? Example, giving a woman a compliment. Most guys I know, I'm sure, have gone out and given a woman a compliment. And out of their heart, they might have meant it to be really genuine and true. You're so beautiful. Now, that woman might have turned around and said, because she's so used to guys hitting on her all the time. That's her coping mechanism, is to reject you, right? I know a lot of men can relate to this, because out of our own hearts, we're being genuine and honest, just trying to give a compliment, but the response that we get isn't always the response that we're looking for, right? And that comes down to coping mechanism. So if someone comes up and says, hope you have a nice day, and you go, what did they mean by that? I wonder. Right? Are you choosing to believe in positive meanings? Are you choosing to give people the benefit of the doubt? Or are you judging people? Are you thinking, man, this person, whatever it is that's going on in your life, right? So meanings are driven by emotion. What does that mean? It means that you base the meaning off of the emotion. If you're not feeling real good today or some other day and someone comes up and says something to you, you might be like, this person's a jerk, whatever, blah, 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 blah. Or you might be happy and someone says, hey, hope you have a nice day. I'm like, well, thank you. You're really, that's awesome, man. Thank you. And your emotion affects your meaning, right? So I'll give you another example. Let's say that when someone's younger, they smart off and their mom slaps them across the face, right? And then they're like, oh, and then they don't like being slapped in the face anytime, right? Let's say that you had a brother when you were growing up, and every time you said something funny, your brother reached over and slapped you across the face, and you associated to it that it was a positive meaning. Now you got two different people, same behavior, two different reactions, two different meanings, right? So now when someone slaps you in the face, let's say you've got a girlfriend or a boyfriend, they come up and they go, and they're just playing with you and they just slap you, right? Now it might be playful, right? Now I know most of you might say, oh, it's not appropriate to be slapped in the face. Well, that's my point exactly, is what's appropriate, what's inappropriate. It's all based off of the meaning that you give it. So what's appropriate and what's inappropriate in your life, right? Think about it. Right? And how is it different in other people's lives? I guarantee you, anything that you think to be absolutely true is something that you believe in so fully that you're blind to all the different areas where it's different in the world, right? Because you believe in it so honestly and so fully that the world just confirms to you that that's true. But if you take a second to stop and second guess that and look for different areas where it might not be as true as you once thought it was, you'll start to expand your model of the world. You start to grow, right? So the source of emotion is powered by what we call the triad. It's your physiology, which is the way that your body is positioned. It's the way that your body moves. It's your posture. It's your breathing, right? Even doing that can induce a sense of anxiety. Even that can induce a sense of relaxation. Your physiology has effect on your emotions, right? The second part of that triad is your focus. What are you choosing to focus on? That person just came up and yelled at me. That person, they're having a bad day, right? And the third one is your language. The meaning, the words that you use to describe an experience, just like that. That person just came up and yelled at me. They're probably... Can you feel the anxiety that's coming up? Versus if you just go through there and you go, that person yelled at me, but they must be having a bad day. The language that you use to describe the experience that you experience affects the meaning that you give it, which affects the focus. So if you focus on someone always being negative, well, that person's always an ass, or that person's always an idiot, that person's always doing this, that person's always doing that, right? Or this always happens, or I can never catch a break, or limiting belief, limiting belief, limiting belief, right? That's where your focus is. Or you can change it to empowering beliefs. Woo, life's been hard this year, but I have conquered it, right? Man, life, I work hard every single day, or, whatever it is that you choose to empower yourself with, because they're all going to be different, right? So an idiot versus having a hard day. If someone comes up and they says something to you, you go, oh, you're an idiot, right? Well, you're projecting that outwards, right? And people are going to feel that way towards you. Or you could say, oh, that person's having a hard day. Which do you choose? Do you choose to be limiting in your beliefs, or do you choose to be empowering in your beliefs? All right. That being said, why we do what we do. That's the third practical element of our psychology. Why do we do what we do? No matter who you are, there is one force that drives our emotions and our actions, and that is human need, right? We all have needs, right? Regardless of who you are or where you came from, the environment that you grew up in, we all are driven by primal needs, okay? Now, there are 6 human needs, and those are split into 2 categories: our primal needs and our spiritual needs. The primal needs are certainty, variety, significance, and connection. All right? The 2 spiritual needs are growth and contribution. So you need to be able to have certainty in who you are and what you're doing and where you're going, right? Certainty in something, right? You need to have a grounding, strong faith. You need to be able to have variety. Monotony kills you. Every single day, living in complacency, doing the same thing over and over and over again, it drives people crazy. They got to do something different. They've got to be able to stretch, to grow, right? Significance. You need to be able to do something important in your life, right? Most people, if you're living, if you're doing a mediocre job or living a mediocre life, you might not be as happy or as fulfilled as you can be because you don't have a lot of significance. That, or you are finding significance in different areas. And then the fourth one is connection. Now that one should be an easy one because we all need connection in some form or some fashion, right? We all need to have that sense of love from somebody. Now, if we don't have that connection, or we don't have that love, we're going to be acting, and our behaviors are going to be projecting meaning on different things to either compensate for that, or what was the word that I used? Coping mechanism, right? So if you're not giving the love or the connection that you need in your life, you're going to have coping mechanisms. If you're not having the significance or the variety, you're going to have coping mechanisms. If you don't have the certainty, you're going to have coping mechanisms, right? The 2 spiritual needs are growth and contribution. You need to be able to constantly be growing, right? And if you're unsettled, that's going to come with a variety. It's going to be expressed in its own way. And then the contribution, what are you doing with your life? Are you giving back to the world, or are you just going through living your own life, right? If you're living your own life, maybe you're happy doing your own thing. Maybe you're not. I don't know. That's why I'm talking to you today, is how to help you live your best life. When you meet these needs is when you start to have a sustainable joy versus momentary pleasure, right? So when you start realizing that you've got certainty, variety, significance, connection, growth, and contribution, you can start looking for these in your life, and then you can start finding more ways to have a sustainable joy than versus momentary pleasure. Oh, I bought a new car, I got a new house, my wife loved me tonight, or yesterday, or whatever it might be. We all find different ways to meet these needs. Now, the way that we meet these needs determines the quality of our lives, right? So any activity, action, or emotion that fulfills at least 3 of these needs, this is important, can become an addiction, right? So the reason why we get addicted to things is because they meet some or all of these needs in some form or fashion. That could look like a person. A person could meet these needs. You might call that love. Drugs or alcohol or substance could meet that need. You could call that addiction, right? It could be a career or a hobby. You could be bypassing all the pain by putting all of your effort, all of your focus into your career or a hobby or something. Are you happy with your life? You know the real honest answer to that, okay? It could be your purpose or your passion. If you're in alignment with yourself and you're finding your purpose and your passion, then you should be able to meet all of these needs in a very healthy way across all of your life. Now, I know that this is getting long, but I want to go ahead and wrap this up for you. All right, if you're not fully happy or fulfilled in your life, then you might want to take a real hard, honest look at your life and give it an audit. Go through and find out which areas of your life are you meeting these needs, and which area of your life are you not meeting these needs. So I want you to write down these 6 needs. All right, pause this video for a second, get a pen and paper. I'm going to give it to you in the next 5 seconds. All right, so write down these 6 needs and make a list of where these needs are being met in your life. So certainty, variety, significance, connection, growth, and contribution. All right, then note whether these are healthy or if they could use a little of attention in your life. If you're meeting these in a healthy way, or if they could use a little bit more attention. Chances are, even if you think you're perfect, they could use a little bit of attention. All right. Remember, at the end of the day, you are the only one who's responsible and accountable for your life. You're the only one that has the power to change anything, right? So if you're already watching this video to this point, realize that this is something that you probably should do. Okay. Now, sometimes it comes down to just figuring out the priority in which you meet these needs. Maybe you are meeting these needs in different areas, but you're putting a different priority on one need versus another need. And when you just swap those priorities, maybe you put work over loving your children, or maybe you put going out versus, going to work, or whatever it might be. Maybe you're meeting these needs, but maybe the priority is in the wrong place. So think about this as you're going through and doing this audit of yourself in your own life. All right. Which ones do you value more than others? All right. What are the pros and cons of the behaviors of meeting those needs? Right. What are the consequences? What do your top 2 needs need to be to transform your life? If your life isn't where you want it to be and you want it to be somewhere else, what 2 needs need to be reversed, or what 2 needs need to be top priority for you to start transforming your life? And if you changed your meanings and you changed your behaviors, how would that transform your life? If you started changing the way that you talk to yourself, if you started changing the way that you talk to others, if you started changing the way that you think about things, if you started being more positive, more optimistic versus pessimistic, if you chose to lift people up versus discourage them or talk down on them, if you chose not to gossip, or if you chose, to only speak in positive, how would that alter your life? I'm telling you right now, words are power. Where do you think magic spells come from? Where do you think, the Bible comes from? In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God, right? All of this stuff plays its part whenever you actually take time to look into it, right? If you're just moseying around like a cow in a field throughout your whole life, then you're going to be slaughtered like the cow, right? At a certain point, you need to rise up and start to be the shepherd, or take control of your own life. Awareness is one of the most important tools that you have in this life. Use it. This is Everest Volker. I hope this was meaningful and powerful for you. I hope it stimulated something. If you're watching to this point, thank you for taking the time. Thank you for contributing, and thank you for supporting. All right. Hope this does something for you powerfully in your life, and wait for the next video.